Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 156, Ewan and I have some thoughts around the second Wonka trailer and some non-strike news for once. This is an interesting week.
Today, Lachlan and I will also draft the best Netflix originals, and then we both caught the first, somehow good, anime adaptation with One Piece.
Finally, Ewan and I caught up on the latest Netflix release, Fair Play, a steamy office finance drama, but do we both get on our knees and beg to love it? Well, you'll hear our thoughts later on in the episode.
We'll do the scar, and that's now that Office is getting rebooted. That joke is in again. A steamy office. You get it, Lachlan?
Office.
Anyway, cue the intro.
We are professional.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back. It's a big week. Lots to talk about.
Big week.
Hope you're doing fine. I feel like you're doing way better than last week with your allergies. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know if I said it, but I got this new nasal spray, and I can breathe. I can breathe. My throat is sore, but I had my air conditioning blowing all night because it was really hot. So that's why, because it's just dried up. But hey, that's just the summer here in Australia. It gets hot, so I need to cool down. And I fight off allergies. Now I got to fight off my air conditioning from ruining my voice. So
Fair, yeah. I do that as well, where I just blast my vent. We don't have AC here in Switzerland, but just blast my vents directly in my face, and I just kind of like that, even if it's not as hot anymore as in the summer.
yeah.
And it's not a good habit to have because it will fuck you up. It will dry you up. There were a couple of new trailers that dropped. First look, I guess it already was the second trailer. I don't remember if we got a teaser. But for the second season of Amazon Prime's Invincible. And I just want to get your quick thoughts on it. I mean, we both caught season 1, right? What did you make of this new look?
Look, I don't know. I don't want to hold up too much judgment because I thought Invincible season 1 was actually really, really good. So,
yeah.
Same voice cast, same team doing it again. I just don't think the trailer was that great. So yeah, hopefully the season 2 is going to be hopefully season 2 is good. I just think the trailer wasn't really well put together.
No, there was something really off about it, and it was it felt like they really wanted to arrive at a point where our lead guy is not a bad guy, and also the prospect of yet another multiverse in another property is really not intriguing, right? There was one character with the multiverse thing. It's really not intriguing to me. It's just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and yeah, I don't know. Also, the voice performances just didn't connect with me this time around. But maybe I don't know. I had the same thing with.
I think it's just the trailer. I think it's just the trailer, and we could
hope so.
possibly
I
put
hope
it
it is as
aside
well,
just to a bad trailer edit. But hey, we'll see. It's not too far away.
But speaking of bad trailer edits, that first Wonka trailer got a lot of reactions. Maybe also a bad performance is what people were really thinking when they first saw Timothée Chalamet as Mr. Wonka. I think the second one, this trailer is way better, and I'm not really that concerned with it. Not that I ever was. I just feel like we'll get a whimsical musical that's over the top and cheesy, and I don't know if they'll totally completely fumble the bag. I don't think they will. But what did you make of it?
I don't think it's going to be bad. I think that the film is going to be pretty good. Because after all, I do believe it's directed. Is it being directed by the Paddington director? Am I just getting that wrong?
It is.
Yeah.
Paddington 2. I don't know if they have the same director. But
and
yeah,
for me, I think that overall, the Wonka IP has had 2 adaptations. And they're both very different, and I feel like it stands on its own feet. This one, it is, again, very different from the previous 2 films. It's probably going to take some ideas from, I believe it's a prequel to the first one, to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But that is yet to be seen. I can't confirm that. But for what I've seen, I'm actually into it. I'm not gonna lie. I actually like a lot of the people in the film. So for me, I'm
Mm.
going to go see it for the cast. And if it's anything, Paddington 1, Paddington 2, Paul King knows how to give a film heart. And even
Yeah.
though Paddington is just a good soul, so is Wonka. Wonka is also a good soul at the end of the day. Yes, he does some pretty fucked up
Mm.
things, but he is a kind soul. So I don't have any issues with Timothée Chalamet playing Wonka, but
Mm.
that probably is the only thing that I'm not 100% sure on, because that will be the make or break for this film.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't the Chocolate Factory thing also Roald Dahl story? So
Yes.
I assume it's just based on that and not really connected to the other movies, or like, well, definitely in the marketing, I guess it could be like like, I don't know, marketed as a prequel, but it seems to be like a wholly different thing. I don't know if it's based on anything when it comes with the, obviously there's the like the music, right? That's iconic.
Yeah.
In there, and like there were some music tones that they hit in the trailer were like, ooh, okay, this is a full on musical. This could be really good if they nail that part, especially.
Also, Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa could possibly be the best part of the film.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
really
people
funny
were
that
worried,
M-Tag,
but
I think
so good.
that was good. Yeah. He is a charming lad. There's a reason why he was cast in so many rom-coms and has been a heartthrob for a lot of people growing up. So yeah, here as a tiny man, he just got it. He just got it. He's great. And yeah, lastly, Iron Claw, an A24 project that with much anticipated A24 project, based loosely, I think, on a real family of fighters. Looked really interesting. Zac Efron is in it, jacked to the fucking brim. My God, what do you make of that trailer? I really liked it.
Yeah, it had a really good soundtrack to it. I really enjoyed the music in that one a lot more than
Oh,
you
yeah.
said. Wonka's music was great, but this was even better. So I'm very keen for both Zac Efron and is it Jeremy Allen
yeah,
Allen White, whatever
White,
his name is.
yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm
Yeah.
so keen. I think this is gonna be super super good. So for me, that's all I have
Yeah.
to say, because it was the only one that kind of left me like, yep, this trailer. I don't have anything to say
Yeah.
about it. It's solid. I'm super excited for the film. And I'm not a big
Harris-
fighting movie guy. I'll put that up there.
Right, yeah.
I'm not a big boxing guy. I only watched Rocky this year. So what can I say?
Totally forgot that was this year where you like watched a bunch of
Watched every Rocky
yes.
movie.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if you watched all of them or if you just caught up with some of them, but you did watch all of them. That's crazy. And then I'm also always a fan of Lily James, but that's to anyone who listens to the show regularly. They know that already. So I'm really keen just for the cast alone, and then like the story, visual style, everything seems to be coming together just well. And then maybe like first loosely kind of news item would be that A24 recently announced that they were like in the future going for bigger IP. I don't know if you saw, Lachlan. I think in that there was also something where they were fighting or like bidding over the rights to the Halloween franchise, or maybe I'm mistaking it now.
Yeah.
I think it was the Halloween franchise. They lost out to MGM, but then I was just like left wondering, okay, what other horror franchises could A24 go for that maybe have the rights up in contention? But yeah, I don't know if you got any thoughts on this. I think it's overall like, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
If with their vision they're kind of tied to bigger IP, I feel like it's better to have a refreshing voice than just like the big five who seem to control and steamroll everything in not like such a great direction currently.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, because I feel like with these reboots of these horror icons, there have been some missed opportunities. But I feel like the Halloween one has been the safest one, and I feel
Yeah.
like because of the success of it of recent time, people would want to capitalize on keeping that train rolling. But
Yeah.
where's Freddy Krueger? Where is
In
he?
your dreams, man. In your dreams. Yeah. I that's one where I could really see it work with A24, just because the flair of the possibilities of Freddy Krueger's character. Nightmare on
Yeah.
Elm Street has a lot of potential, especially for someone who's really deep into film history and horror film history and just overall. You can do so much with that franchise that I really hope if there's like some kind of bidding going for the next iteration in that series, that A24 might have a shot. What we didn't discuss last week with The Exorcist is that like the budgeting that they are locked in for the trilogy. I think that's kind of something that I wasn't really caught up on as much. I don't know if you brought it up, but essentially they committed themselves to invest 400 million. They didn't pay 400 million upfront for the licensing rights to do the movies, but they basically committed themselves to high quality ones, not so they could just get the IP and then shit out a bunch of streaming movies for like 5
Yeah, of
million a
course.
pop. They do have to set the quality straight for this.
Decent money to
Um,
drop on a IP.
and now that they're committed to it, we're definitely gonna see. I think that the next one is also, there was a title already. I'm blanking on it. I'll put it up here if I can find it again. But it's very much David Gordon Green naming conventions in that way. There was like Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. This was like The Exorcist Believer, and then the next one was something like Condemnation, or I don't know, some stupid shit like that. But yeah, I really like some naming conventions that I know you don't really appreciate, Lachlan, because it's in the same vein as like the Spider-Man stuff of recent memory, where everything is
Yeah.
like tied to home. So that's that on that front. But there was also the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie, and it was a huge success. It had a projection to possibly make around 100 million, maybe even more than that, maybe a little bit less than that. By the time this episode comes out, I will have the final numbers. Should have to final numbers in here yet. We don't know it as it is Saturday night right now in the States, I think. Crazy, right? This is the second biggest opening in October ever, only tracking about 300,000 behind Joker's opening in 2019. It made in like the first, I think probably 2 days. So I don't know if it's just the Friday gross, because there was a short little pre-release window on Thursday. It made 39 million, which is crazy. I think it's gonna beat or be
That's
at
pretty
least
good.
on the same track as like the biggest opening of the year, like Barbie, and that's really impressive. But yeah, Lachlan, you don't have any plans to go see it, or are you gonna go? No?
No, I'm gonna spend $4,000 and fly over to Sydney and watch her live when she comes here instead. I do know someone who's doing that, by the way. I do know someone who's doing that.
This movie is a great alternative for people who are not able to do that, because from what I've heard, the experience is very much like the concert, just like basically documenting it.
Yeah.
And if you're in a room full of like-minded people who just want to enjoy, sing along, I feel like this was a really great move by her, and I hope we see more stuff like this. I think it's yeah, even if the stuff that has come out of it seems like very chaotic. There was like the one thing that people kept calling like the Midsommar thing, where they were dancing in a circle. Well, I just thought like it's charming, man. They're just having a good time, and it's like the one time where that does make sense in a theater. You know, to be loud, to be like that, because it's a different type of experience. I will catch it probably later on once this hits streaming, because I am kind of curious about it, but I'm not gonna go to a theater to go catch it. Then finally, is it Sir Michael Caine, or is it just Michael Caine? I think it's Sir Michael Caine, right?
I think he's
Isn't it?
been knighted, yeah.
So Sir Michael Caine is officially retiring at age 90. His last film, The Great Escaper, I think premiered at the London Film Festival. I assume, I need to check that, maybe it was New York. It was him in a lead role. It got great praise, and he basically said, I'm going out on a high note, as I get a lead, as I get good reviews, and he's going to focus on writing novels now. And I just think in the current mediascape that we're in the current situation, I feel like this is just like a nice thing. A man who's had a great career, he's doing great on a high note, on his own terms. There he goes. I'm just happy. Great. We've had you in a lot of great performances and great roles, and now he's retiring. And I'm just happy for him. Like, I don't know if you have anything to add here, but I'm just glad, Michael Caine. got his lead
No.
role as well. And
I'm glad
Yeah.
he's just doing what so many other celebrities, who, might I add, are younger, should be doing and retiring instead of just doing
right.
some exceptions. Like I will say that who's got diagnosed with dementia?
Oh, Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Yeah, Bruce Willis. He was
Yeah.
like, I'm going out swinging. I'm just gonna do as many movies as I bloody can. And to be fair, if he wants to do that, he wants to do that. But there's certain actors
Yeah.
who have decided to do neither of those, who are not doing one last movie and then retiring. They're all doing, I'm going to do a bajillion films and I don't care the quality of them because I love
Mhm.
making them. Some people aren't doing that and they should. But hey,
Yeah.
Michael Caine, I respect that. I guess it will be
Yeah.
sad. I feel like he might get asked
Mm.
by Nolan
Nolan?
to do like a
Mm.
cameo or something, and I'm sure he'd be happy to do that if it's something simple. But maybe he's just fully pulling out of the game. But yeah, it's a nice little story in my opinion.
Hey, in the next few years, he won't, because there will definitely be a digital version of him, and we'll never, even if he passes away, we'll always have him.
Always have him.
I think with Bruce Willis specifically, I think what was going on there was more that he was also trying to make as much money as he can for his family before he left. So it's like, well, like that story is really sad. But yeah, there's some people who are just like, there's no illness or anything behind it. It's just like pump out pretty mid shit year after year just for the sake of it. But yeah, that's that for the news this week. Now for discussion time, Lachlan, this week I do have something new here that we've never done before, and that is a movie draft of sorts. We'll have a visual for this. Lachlan, for us it's quite ugly. It's only text right now, but for the listeners at home, you'll have an actual like graphic for this where you can see all of the movies that are in contention. So basically the way this works is that we both get 15 points to distribute, and there's 20 movies in total. They're all in different tiers. The highest tier costs 5 points, and then it goes down from 5 to 1. And we go back and forth. Do you want to do a snake draft or a back and forth normal one?
I do, but I feel like you're missing a couple of movies that should be replaced.
Okay. I had struggles to I replaced a bunch, and it was hard to put them in the right column and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But do you have any suggestions? We can live swap on here as well. I can change the
Okay,
graphic.
live swap. Okay, live swap.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
you have got a couple of films on there that I don't think need to be on there, and I feel like would be a better swap.
Mhm.
So you have Bird Box, okay,
Yeah.
and Bird Box is extremely successful,
Big-
but I have an idea of an alternative that was a Netflix release. At least
Okay.
here it was, and it's also an end of the world film. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel like this might be a better option on here.
Annihilation. Well, that would be really low though. I don't think I saw that one on the list for actual being a Netflix original. I think they acquired it.
So okay, so it
maybe
has to
that's
be
why.
original. Oh, is this the key thing? It has to be an original,
Yeah, because this was a Paramount
right?
thing co-release.
Okay.
Yeah, I went by a list. Yeah. Look, let's just stick with the list, even if it's imperfect. We can do this again. I think it's really fun. And you could have different themes. I think we can do it like this, just for simplicity's sake. We'll do like a snake draft. So yeah, Lachlan, do you want to go first, or should I?
You go first.
I think I don't think you'll go for this. I think for me, just to be true to stick to my own guns and what I believe is great. I do have to stick with Noah Baumbach and go with Marriage Story first, because I feel like it's one of the ones where you could also go for it. So my first 5 points go out to Marriage Story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, solid pick, I think, from the start, and I do want to lock in those high points before you take him away from me. What about you, Lachlan?
So I have 2 films on here that stand out as 2 of my favorites, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 5 points to I'm thinking of ending things.
Okay, interesting. Look, I could easily just like go, or you got another pick, but you could easily just go with like 3 of the top 5, and then you got solid picks. Because I don't know what the quality drop is so steep for Netflix.
Yeah.
That, like, I don't know if I want anything of the bottom
Yeah.
2. So this is a different kind of draft. But what's your second pick?
So my second pick is once again the 2 that I was thinking of, because I think they're both 2 extremely really really good films, and they're completely opposite, and that's All Quiet on the Western Front.
Okay, so you're keeping it grim, also themed with death. Your common through line seems to be death, and I'm intrigued now to go with some kind of breakup between people. I'm very intrigued to just go like with another Noah Baumbach film with the Merowitz stories, but I don't think I will. It's hard to not go for Uncut Gems because it's one of my favorite films of all time, but I think I'll go with The Five Bloods. I think it's really solid.
Interesting. Okay.
Then I'm already at 9 points. We both are at 9 points right now. The natural conclusion to this is from 5 to go to 6. So I'm going to pick 6 on the ground. It has to be done. All right, back to you, Lachlan. I'm at 10.
God, I keep looking at Hubby Halloween and I want to die.
Oh yeah, I remember our drunk cast for that one. That was what a
So
movie.
my next pick is what you said, because I do think it needs to be selected, and that's Uncut Gems. Safdie Bros.
Oh, okay.
Brilliant film.
Damn.
I've kind of cornered The Irishman on this list. Like
Yeah.
I've put The Irishman in a box. No one touch it.
Well, I mean, I have the budget still. You have 1 point remaining, so I don't think you have like that much more to choose from. So
Yes.
you're kind of stuck.
And I feel
to
like-
go with
I
Tall
feel
Girl, The
like-
Kissing Booth, or Death Note.
So, oh wait, I've just realized. Is this 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1? I get it now. You haven't
Yeah,
listed
yeah, yeah.
this in any kind of way
I
that
thought
made sense
I
to
thought
me.
it was.
I thought I could just
Yeah.
pick any of them. Oh wait, hang on. Okay, this. Yeah, I hate you for doing this.
Sorry, the concept I
Um,
guess wasn't clear. But
No,
we know
the
for the
concept
future
wasn't
now.
clear. No, that's okay.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Fuck. No. Yes. No. Yes. Okay. No, I'm sticking with it. I get 1 point.
You get so just the bottom row.
Ah. I hate this.
I mean, you got 3 really good movies. They have sequel potential. Other than Death Note, The Kissing Booth got 2 sequels. Tall Girl
Can I
got
pick
1
Six
sequel.
Underground as well?
I mean, no, you're actually not allowed. I do want to see you pick either Kissing Booth, Tall Girl, or Death Note.
Okay.
The
Okay.
Six Underground, I feel
fine.
like, is the
okay.
best
You know
one out
what?
of those
No.
ones.
You know what, Ewan? Fuck you.
What?
I am not going to abide by your rules,
Okay.
and I am adding a movie. Where's your Netflix originals list? Where's your Netflix originals list? Okay, does it have to be an original film? Okay.
Yeah.
So
just
let me
something
ask
on
you.
that-
Let me
on
ask
those
you.
lists.
It has to be original. Has to be original,
Mhm.
and that's it, right? So just an original film.
Well, it also has. I did categorize it by quality as well, so it has to be a pretty shit film to be in the 1 point column. But
You didn't
mean,
like Six Underground? Oh,
I think it was. I mean, it's the best out of that. You could definitely swap Hubie Halloween with Six Underground. I think that would be fair. It was
Well,
my
for me, it was
assessment.
the,
Next time
COVID
you
outbreak.
can make this thing, and then you can pick.
well, to be fair, I did not have the rules given out to me in a clear manner.
When I fucking Trump speak, I did not.
What's my lowest rated Netflix letterbox score? Surely I've got like a really low one. Oh, I gave Six Underground 1 star. Okay, sick. All right, cool. I did give
See,
Six Underground
You
1
hated
star.
it.
That's very funny.
If it makes it easier, I guess you can also pick Six Underground, unless you got something.
Why did you have to put Hubby Halloween above Tall Girl or The Kissing Booth?
Because it's better. Those movies are so trash.
All right, you ready? You ready for this? You ready for
Okay.
this? You made me do this. I'm removing I'm thinking of ending things. I'm then going
So it's
to
going
highlight
Okay.
Extraction.
Sure.
What does
5
that give
for
me?
3. Yeah, you're at 12, so you got 3 more.
Sick. I'm picking. Oh God.
You also don't need to pick one from every column, right? Just so you know.
Yeah, I know.
You-
I'm just
Okay,
trying to.
okay.
No,
You know,
okay.
considering
No,
you don't know what the fucking rules
retract.
are.
I'm thinking of ending things back, and I'm keeping Uncut Gems, and fuck it, I'm highlighting Death Note, and Death Note can stay.
I feel like this is a great decision, considering we're talking about anime live action adaptations later on. It is a dog shit movie though, but great pick, Lachlan. And I have a couple more points to give out. I got 4 still. So I just it's been so long since it was my turn, but going from 5 to 6, I like the urge to go with Trial of the Chicago 7 is really big, but I think I don't know if I need more action because I already have 6 Underground. I do have drama. I do have the 5 Bloods with historical stuff. I do need a bit of love in mind, so I think I'm going with the girlies and To All the Boys I Loved Before for 3 points. Issue is I have only 1 point remaining after this. I think so, right? 4, 9, 12. No, I have 2 more, right? Yeah, no, I do have 2 more. Then I'll go with something really crazy, and from the 2-point column, I'll go with Polar. So
Damn it!
this is
I wanted to
really
select Polar
hectic.
so hard.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have any points left anyways. It's 15 to give out. So those are our lists. I feel like if we do this again, I definitely have to explain it to you a bit better how it works. I just kind of assumed that like, oh yeah, this makes sense. But sorry, that's just my 6 a.m. brain not really working. But so Lachlan, your list is Uncut Gems. I'm thinking of ending things. All Quiet on the Western Front, and Death Note. Mine is Marriage Story, The 5 Bloods, To All the Boys I Loved Before, Polar, and 6 Underground. Now, you guys let us know which one's better. Speaking of those Netflix originals, Lachlan, let's get to what we've been watching this week. And for me, it was a slow week, Lachlan. I didn't really catch anything new. I'm still working my way through some of the online catalog of the Zurich Film Festival, and I probably won't get as far as I'd like to. So the festival coverage from there has been a bit postponed because I'm still watching it even a week after the festival has wrapped. You had some time to catch up with something that just released on Netflix earlier this week, right?
Yeah, I watched the Fall of the House of the Usher, which is a mouthful of a title, I'll say that for a fact. But it's Mike Flanagan's latest Netflix horror miniseries, which, if you've listened to the podcast before, on any horror-themed episode, I am not someone who seeks horror. I am not someone who goes out of the way to watch horror movies or horror TV shows because it's just not my thing. But for whatever reason, which I think I know what it is, Mike Flanagan's stuff, I enjoy. So I watched his, the first thing I watched from him was Midnight Mass, that came out 2 years ago, which was, and again, a mini series on Netflix. And I really enjoyed it more than what I thought I would. And obviously, Mike Flanagan has had a run of movies with both something like Gerald's Game and Doctor Sleep. They're both 2 films that he did that didn't get the greatest reviews, and I think have slowly become more and more cult following favorites since they released. Especially Doctor Sleep. I feel like Doctor Sleep got a lot of shit when it came out, but slowly people are kind of being like, you know what, it's not that bad. But then he also released The Haunting of Hill House, which was massively successful on Netflix, and ever since then has been doing mini TV series such as The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, The Midnight Club, and now The Fall of the House of Usher. The interesting thing for The Fall of the House of Usher is it's actually based off of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories and poems, and kind of all brought together, and based off his story of The Fall of the House of Usher, which for me made it very, very intriguing because I've read some of Edgar Allan Poe's stuff and I actually quite enjoy it. Ewan knows I'm not a big reader, but I have read some of his stuff and I do enjoy some of it.
Yeah.
Especially because it is super dark and that was just a lot of fun for me to read his kind of stuff. So going into this, I got super excited because I like vampires and Midnight Mass did that for me. And I've also a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe's stuff. And I think that Mike Flanagan adapts things fairly well, in my opinion, to work in this mini series, and I think he's found his format. I don't think for him movies work all that well because he only has a set amount of time. Where with this, they're hour-long episodes. There's 8 episodes. There's 8 hours worth of content here, and he can really flesh out some characters. For me, I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as Midnight Mass. I feel like Midnight Mass built up to this big climactic ending where this didn't as much. So for me, I feel like, unfortunately, the last episode isn't the best. I feel like there are some better episodes in there, and the horror aspect kind of built up to the end of each episode, and then some of it was lackluster, some of it was good. Overall, I'm quite happy with it. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3.5 stars because mini-series are on Letterboxd. That's right. Thank you, Letterboxd, for including that. So if there's a second season, they remove it, but if it's a mini-series, they include it. And yeah, I had a great time. I don't think it's his best, but I do think it is definitely worth a watch. And funny story, I still haven't watched Haunting of either of the manors or houses.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like I should because I've heard that Hill House is his best, and everything else since then is not as good. But I feel like I should give it a watch.
Yeah, I mean, when you were raving about Midnight Mass, I think I watched the first 2 episodes, but never got around to watch more. I think I think you don't love horror as a whole for like movies and TV. But maybe something about gothic horror is something that really intrigues you. I know that
I love Addams Family. That's probably what. Yeah, you're probably right. I feel like it's gothic horror.
Because like when we watched, what was it? I think the latest stuff Love, Death, Robots. When there was a gothic story, Lovecraftian stuff, you also were like, that's your kind of thing. So yeah, that's how to play into your cards to actually get you to watch some horror stuff. It just needs a bit of gothic in it, maybe.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, I might catch this as well, but I don't know. I haven't seen any of Mike Flanagan's stuff apart from Doctor Sleep.
Like the other thing it could
watched
be, right?
it all the way through. Yeah.
The reason I liked Midnight Mass is the same reason I like certain Australian films. There's certain Australian films that are kind of set in outback towns, and outback towns are super interesting to me because I've gone to some of them and they are like a whole different type of community cut off from the rest of the world, and it can form these really interesting sort of dynamics. And like for example, when I recently watched The Dry, I loved that because it was set in an outback town and they had their own rules. There's a new one coming out, I think it's called The Royal Hotel, that's set in an outback town, and I'm super intrigued for that. And then similar to Midnight Mass, it's a separate island that has its own basic world. And I feel like for me, that was more interesting to me than the actual vampire stuff, is this little community that they built, this cult-like community. So yeah, that's probably why I liked it. But I enjoyed this because it was a fun adaptation of some of the stories that I have read of Edgar Allan Poe.
Speaking of fun adaptations, I feel like that is a perfect tie over to our next subject, which you thought was our main subject today, and it might as well be because there's a lot to talk about with this adaptation. Lachlan, I think you told me you watched the first couple hundred episodes of One Piece back in the day, so you're familiar with the IP. It's hard to like pinpoint down like how much you've actually seen when there's like 1,100 or how many. Maybe even more?
Yeah, and I have noticed that Netflix has added the first 18 season, I think, onto Netflix, which is 400
also in Australia?
Episodes. Yeah, in Australia, they've got the first 400 episodes on Netflix. So, yep, it's a lot.
This would be a perfect place for a sponsor, but we unfortunately don't have it because I don't think it is in Switzerland. But I'll definitely check it out if It also has the original version as well, just like dubbed. I'd actually give it a watch because I was considering, hey, when do I get Crunchyroll to start watching this?
Watching
As
One Piece,
I,
yeah.
I okay, so it's like you don't want to do that this late in the game. You don't want to start watching One Piece because I looked it up. It would take you, I think, 21 or 22 days of watching straight to get through all of the stuff. That's crazy.
A lot.
3 weeks of nonstop, non-sleeping watching One Piece to catch up. I'm more intrigued to catch up with the manga. But watching these first 9 episodes of the series, I want to do both. Like, I don't know how you felt about it. I think this nailed it out of the park. And I would go as far to say that this, to me at least, was the best Netflix original show of the year. But how did you feel
Damn.
about it?
Damn, that's
Yeah.
a praise.
Yes. I mean, maybe speaks to the rest of the quality. Like, it doesn't beat all of the other ones, but I do have a list of I've watched a shit ton of shows, especially earlier in the year before like the Emmy deadline was coming up. One Piece is currently my 6th highest ranked series of the year out of 60 series that I've seen this year already.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, what did you think of it? Because I mean, I liked it quite a bit.
I was pretty positive on it. As I said last episode, I started watching it, and then afterwards I continued, and I finished it maybe a day or two later, which is then when I started watching the Fall of the House of Usher, and I had a great time. It's a perfect example of when you're adapting something, you can't just half-ass it. And the best part about this is it goes into it. It really does dive headfirst into the world, and it accepts the strange reality that these human real life people are in. And I think that's the most interesting aspect from an anime manga adaptation, is that a lot of those expressions that they have in those shows are quite over the top, and it's really weird seeing a human do such over the top actions like Luffy. The oddest thing when you first watch it is when he starts like throwing his hands up and doing his iconic Yahoo, like yelling into the sky and it's like
Gum.
that wouldn't work if they weren't already going so hard into this world that looks like ours, but everyone's got these outrageously interesting outfits and have these crazy costumes and have these stupidly cool abilities, and like, you know, it really dives head in and nails the world itself and makes everything feel realistic, right? It makes you go, no, I could believe that in this world that they believe that they're in works. So I think for me, that's the biggest thing.
I think it nails the character stuff so great. I think I'm not like a fan of flashbacks usually, and I didn't love them in here. For me, at every step of the way, even the stuff that like made me cringe or like I thought was very cheesy, it ultimately still felt like it fit into this world at all times. I didn't really see anything that really broke that for me. The only thing maybe I didn't really like was maybe slight spoilers for the first arc of One Piece and the series. That episode that they have when they get Usopp at the manor. I think that's the one where I think it drags a bit too much and it feels like we are getting another person onto our team, where the rest of it kind of, I do have to praise it for how well it flows, kind of from like kind of arc to arc or like island to island. I think the core dynamic is one that is incredibly strong between Luffy, Nami, and Zoro, and they nailed it with the casting. They're doing great. I know some people were like like a bit frustrated with how Luffy comes off, but I feel like again probably pretty perfect adaptation to kind of make that work from anime onto into live action. Something about his personality is so incredibly infectious that even if these people don't believe in him at first, it does make sense why they would stick with him. And it in the same vein, you just kind of want to keep watching. And that is hard to do. This was is not a not an easy thing to adapt something this well. I think it also goes to say that they invested enough in this, because someone like Buggy, a pirate who can literally tear off all of his limbs, looks incredibly well. Like at times, this stuff looked better than stuff that we get on the big screen. In my opinion, I think they kind of nailed it. There's obviously a lot of like green screen stuff there, but they did a lot of like great prosthetics work, and yeah, I was just fully engrossed in the story. They really nailed it, and I was surprised. I thought, like, from what I've heard, yeah, it's a pretty good show. Like, people who watch the anime as well were saying, yeah, it's a faithful adaptation, pretty good, but it feels a bit understated. I think they really did a great job with this. Maybe I'm overpraising it. Yeah.
I think that it's not, again, from my very loose memory of the anime, I feel like it's good. I don't think it's a perfect adaptation, but I feel like that's the key word we're looking at here. It's an adaptation. It is something different. It doesn't need to follow the same structure. It doesn't need to follow the same character arcs. But as a massive fan following that this IP has, you would have to nail it out of the gate. And I feel like they could possibly change where the story goes, and they could possibly choose a different arc. But I think for what they did, because it invests so heavily into this crazy world, we have a pretty good show that I would happily watch for a couple of seasons.
I mean, yeah, you got a lot to adapt and go on for a bit. I mean, this first arc that they adapted here, I think, was like something like 64 episodes or something in the series, in the anime. So they also condensed it down. Like, from what I've read, storylines of like Nami and Zoro were combined to be like kind of in the first part, when Nami was initially coming on. Like, one step later on, they kind of went from island to island at the start, adding new members to the crew. And I think that was a great choice to combine them, to kind of condense it down a bit. At parts, I think it did feel a bit rushed emotionally, where we have to arrive at places. Like, there's one episode later on with Zoro where he's stuck down in a well, and it's like intercut with him escaping a well, his emotional thing. And I think his like, it's a really intricate and important arc for him as a character and backstory, and it didn't really work for me the way that they kind of assembled it together. Yeah, everyone has a rich backstory. It felt weird because this series made me tear up a couple of times because I was so engrossed in the stories. They got me in, and I might be reading and watching One Piece as we wait for season 2 as well, which is a crazy thing to say. But,
all 21 days worth.
I mean, I guess it will take me a bit. But I might also read the manga for a bit. Just kind of, I'm really curious to like read the first arc and see the differences. But anything else you wanna bring up for One Piece?
No, it's good.
Yeah, I think rating wise, I'm somewhere between like probably like a 7 out of 10 for the series as a whole, or 7, 8. Pretty good. Can recommend even for people who don't watch anime. As you can see, like, it was widely popular beyond, like, into the mainstream, just normie Netflix user base. So yeah, great thing. Anyways, the normies, yes. All right, let's talk about our main review of the day, of the week. Fair Play from Chloe Dumont. I don't know if she's French, but I'm just going to pronounce it in a French way because I feel like it. I think it's her directorial debut. She has a couple of other things listed there, but I assume they're all short films. This film played earlier this year at Sundance and then got acquired by Netflix for 20 million. Comes in at a runtime of 113 minutes, and yeah, it's only playing on Netflix, so there's no I guess data on how well it's doing at like box office wise, because there is none. But it's been at the number 1 place for a couple of days now, so fair to say this is definitely something that works for the Netflix users. You know, you got a thriller, and the tag of erotic was kind of slammed onto it forcefully, I'd say. I don't know if it fits this to describe it as a erotic thriller, but we'll get into that in a second. But Lachlan, could you read us the log line for the movie?
An unexpected promotion at a cutthroat hedge fund pushes a young couple's relationship to the brink, threatening to unravel not only their recent engagement, but their lives. Ooh.
Lots of unraveling. Ooh. Before we talk spoilers for the film, just generally, positive, negative, what were your thoughts coming out of the movie?
I didn't hate it. It was alright.
Didn't hate it. Okay.
It's not my kind of movie, I'm not gonna lie. And it's
Right.
why I enjoy doing this podcast is because it'll make me watch movies that I won't necessarily go and watch. And it's the same with when we went to cover Cain. Like, there are films there that I wouldn't necessarily go and seek out and watch. But that's the exciting part of film for me, is that there are so many different narratives and stories to tell. There's certain genres that people do. This is just not one that if I was at home flicking on Netflix, I would go, yep, that's for me. But it was fun. It was an enjoyable ride. I thought that the performances of both Phoebe Denver and Alden Ehrenreich were quite good. And yeah, I had a fun time with it.
Fair. Yeah, I think the way that this was marketed like the erotic thriller might be a bit misleading, and it's like seems more intriguing to the Netflix audiences who is watching like a bunch of reality TV and those like true crime docs, and maybe I'm just bundling them all together, and it's not at all the same demography, but it just kind of feels that way. Where I feel like this is way more like trying to make a point about gender dynamics in the financial world, like patriarchy and relationship struggles in that sense when it is in that competitive environment and how toxic it is. So for me, like, there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, ooh, yes, I love this. I love to get into the nitty gritty and kind of break this down. So for me, it's like I get why this is way more kind of my thing than it is for you. I rewatched it last night to kind of get a feel for it, and I did have a chance to catch it in a theater here at the Zurich Film Festival, and I liked it a bit more in the theater because I really liked the tension that it built throughout, and then I didn't really like where it ended up ultimately. And then on the rewatch, where I kind of saw where it was building towards, I liked it a bit less because it felt to me at a lot of steps along the way like it was trying to hit points to be like to get to the edgiest conclusion it could, and it felt really calculated and not actually trying to study these characters and study the dynamics within them, where it was just trying to get to a bombastic, like tension-filled, tension-explosive ending. But I don't know if you felt about it. What did you feel about it when it comes to like the tension? Do you feel like you would buy in, or would you short the stock on the tensions for the film?
There were certain elements that I thought that were quite nerve-wracking. Not so much between Emily and the corporation, but more between Emily and Luke, and I think that's where most of the tension lies, because that's the main driving point. When Emily was being degraded by her boss and other people, I didn't find that terrifying. I was like, that's just a woman in this industry, and that's fucking terrible, and it just wasn't that shocking to me, because I know that that's what the industry is like with women in that field, and it was obvious that they were going to go down that line. And to see her, what was more, I think, terrifying for me was how crazy they were after she was buck wild at the party. I was like, oh man, this is going to slip into uncomfortable territory for me. But for me, the tension was mainly just between Emily and Luke, and I feel like Alden Ehrenreich does a brilliant job of his descent into madness. Essentially, he does like a Jack Nicholson, The Shining descent into madness style performance here, and that was quite enjoyable. And Emily, played by Phoebe Denver, does an awesome job as well with her rise to success, and then her, I guess, I wouldn't say her performance was as gripping to me as Aldrin's, but she does a really great job because she is the main character in this film. She is our perspective, our point of view for the majority of this film.
Yeah, which by the way, spoilers for the rest of the review from here on out. But I think what she what I didn't really love about this film is that she has to keep on reacting to him. But I think that was kind of the point, that like even in this structure, that she as a woman that's going up in success has to kind of accommodate the fragile ego of like a male coworker as a partner, but it also extends to all of the other coworkers who are talking shit behind her, who don't really attribute her success or her promotion to her actual skills, but yeah, I like reading into it as like oh yeah, she must have sucked someone's dick to like climb the ladder and shit like that. I do like how it doesn't really try to condemn that stuff in a really like clinical fashion, but it does stick to the plot, to basically not overemphasize the point it's trying to make over like the narrative it's trying to tell, because it still makes these points but within the narrative. And I feel like that's sometimes where corporate like bigger studio movies, when they are like for a certain group, or like to like agree with a certain movement or whatever, where they kind of lose themselves, where it does feel ring hollow, and it doesn't do that here. I think it, like the point it's trying to make, it kind of nails. But I just kind of wanted more from her. I wanted more from her other than reacting of other people that have expectations of her, and her jump that she has to do sometimes when she's like out at the club and then she's like with the boys and then she comes back and tells that story. I think there's like a big jump where there's this it feels like an identity crisis that she is going through, and I didn't really see that be coherent in her character. I feel like it just needed her to be that way in certain points, where like Alden, like Luke's character, was way more of like a linear descent into whatever his character's progression was. But I guess it's just like based off her thing being always reacting off of other people's emotions and whatever, like being tied to that. Because yeah, patriarchy. I don't know. I think it's like it's a film that opens up a lot of interesting conversations. And I found it quite intriguing, even if some of the moments were a bit cringy to watch. But I think the performances were really solid.
I don't think from a technical standpoint there's much to break down. Cinematography and audio are very fine in this film. I don't think either of them stand out with anything super crazy. I think it's primarily performances and storytelling that takes center fold with this film. And we've already touched on both Phoebe and Alden's performances as Emily and Luke. I don't find much of the surrounding cast that intriguing and that great, but to be fair, they all are pretty one-dimensional when it comes to character beats and what they do. But for me, once again, story-wise, it does have some bumps in the road that I don't necessarily enjoy. And for me, again, I'm not super positive on the film because it's just not something that I would hunt down and watch. But I feel like overall it is quite gripping. Like the film is quite gripping, but I don't feel like there's much to chew with this film. I feel like once you've watched the film, it's over. I don't really have much to say about it. That's an issue with a film like this. I don't really have anything I want to break down and go, yes, this is done super well or this is done super poor. I feel like the film is clean. You get in, you get out, the story's done.
Yeah, and I mean that's also what I noticed on the rewatch, that like the stuff that I thought there's might be something to gnaw on and like get deeper into just wasn't really there. Because maybe we can talk about the ending here, so full on spoilers. I didn't really like it. I didn't really like where this ended up, where it was just like an exchange of blows where she ultimately comes out on top. It's definitely like cathartic, I guess, in a way, but it's also like really sad for both of them. But what did you think about it?
About the ending?
Yeah.
I guess it's like I found it quite funny with like the perspective thing. because I was
Yeah.
genuinely intrigued by why we follow Phoebe's perspective the entire way, and not like a split perspective of Aldrin and Phoebe's perspective, of Luke and Emily's perspective. Because you could definitely find an interesting perspective-based film with what actually happens, because you only get it from one perspective, and Aldrin's like the bad guy. But what would be also kind of interesting is if we primarily get two perspectives, and we have possibly, and this is maybe getting a bit more complex, like two timelines that we follow, right? Like I don't know, just for the sake of it, a black and white timeline and a colored timeline. Very Christopher Nolan of me, right? But we have two different perspectives that we could follow. The black and white thing's a joke. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of funny, but it's just a joke. But it would be interesting to have Emily viewed in the negative light that Luke sees her in, and then Emily's perspective of the negative light that she sees Luke in. Did I say that right? Emily hate Luke.
I know what you mean,
Emily.
like the Rashomon thing. Different perspectives shown,
and then have like a meeting point where neither of their perspectives are skewed, and it's the actual truth, and then you don't have a protagonist you can trust, because you ultimately as a viewer need to trust your narrator, your perspective, right? That's the truth that you get. And we're following Emily, and she eventually throws Luke under the bus, but it would have been interesting to have Emily be an actually bad person, because we have a different perspective. And then at the end, it's like, no, funnily enough, Luke's the bad guy. He's the bad perspective that we've been looking from. Emily has done nothing wrong. But for me, that's why the film isn't necessarily anything too hard to chew, because you get the perspective of Emily the entire way. And then right at the end, she's like, yeah, he stalked me. He did this. He did that. Like, wouldn't it be interesting if maybe he was never actually them, getting married? It was like a fantasy idea she had in her head. And then, there's interesting aspects that could have gone that make it a little bit more ambiguous for the story. But again, it's very cut and dry of what actually happens. It's presented on screen. You don't have to process much, and then you're out of the film.
I think that might be more intriguing for a thriller, but it's also been done in ways where I feel like the collective understanding of the current landscape here is that like the financial sector plus the gender dynamics in the corporate world, like we have an understanding that they suck under patriarchy, especially for women.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you need like,
but
if you would
hide
need that, or if it would
well.
be so obvious.
Sorry, it's a
Yeah,
Barbie
they
reference.
hide. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, you don't drag this shit back into the office, but you still do it. And let HR deal with that shit. Like, Campbell says, like, at the end of the film. Like, I don't think there's a way that this story that she was doing here works with this thriller dynamic. Maybe it will make for a more intriguing film overall when you kind of take away the real life connection this has, but being so ingrained, obviously it's like very over the top, and like also kind of fetishizing this, like how cutthroat this world is. I was like typing things in there, like, oh, these 20 million deals, and then like there's a characterization that is clearly done for the financial sector, that part true, part over the top, but the dynamics here, I feel like, are oftentimes just kind of a stand-in for a larger point rather than the characters themselves that we get, which is what makes it a lesser story in this movie, but ultimately like a better representative piece that I found quite interesting that way. But then it doesn't really come together for me at the end to like justify maybe some of the narrative beats that I didn't enjoy as much, where the bigger story could have been great. So it was a bit let down on both fronts there. But yeah, perspective things I think are always kind of interesting. But again, I feel like as like a collective narrative and mind of people going into this, I feel like we are already kind of there, where we know the guy is probably the bad guy. Just it wouldn't really make sense if it's the other way around. I think that's pretty much it. There were a couple of things that I found a bit silly. Like, obviously, like, Campbell knows that they are together at the end. He kind of, you know, he's aware. I don't know if he was maybe even before. He probably was before. Because it's weird. Wouldn't they have the same address? Aren't they like living together? Maybe one of them is
Yeah.
like registered there, and I don't know, has like another apartment in New York, but considering rent, it's just, I don't know. It's like that was something that didn't really make sense to me. And then the second thing was like after she slams the glass on his face and then runs off, and he storms after her, and they like end up having this really weird sex. No one goes after them. And I found that
No.
really concerning for the shitty family that they have. Like, why are you not, like, that's, like, obviously they have some stuff to sort out, but you do go, like, I don't know, would you not go after them in that moment, Lachlan? I'd be concerned
not
for
if
her
you're a bad
safety.
parent. If I'm a good parent, maybe, but if I'm a bad
Just
friend or a
friends,
bad
just
parent,
like,
I'd
yeah, it just
I'd
feels
just say
like
nah, go
horrible.
fuck yourself, stay out of it.
Because that was one, like, I don't know, to me, that was like something that kind of broke it for me as well, where they like wanted those, like the frills of having, it's like a common through line. It starts with it, kind of
Yeah.
ties it at the end there, where like they're at a party and then they fuck, and that's kind of the intriguing thing to them. But at neither point I thought like they were actually doing something in public where they could be caught, because even like, somehow it was really disconnected. But yeah. And the erotic part, I think, of this isn't really there. It's just like an opening thing, and then obviously it's the struggles that they don't have like anything between the two of them anymore. And what I didn't bring up yet is like really quickly Luke's escalation. I did say it was like more linear. It's not really linear. It's just like he's there. They're fucking all good. He's about to get a promotion. Maybe he never was going to. He doesn't get it. She gets it. He's at a point where he's just like dickhead, and the escalation of him like doing this weird course that is very real, you know, usually for younger people, younger teen boys, not like people in their 20s, but it definitely does happen, like that alienation of the other gender, and like finding frustration as like a common through line to basically alienate everyone around you. And the descendants into inceldom is something that is definitely happening a lot in the internet, on the internet. I found that part intriguing, but again, it didn't give me much more than like, hey, he's looking at a laptop and he has headphones in and listening to this stuff. I wanted a bit more of a dissection. So I lowered my rating from 4 out of 5 for this to a 3.5. I still feel like it's worth checking out, but it's not as great as it could have been. Like, this could have been like a 9 out of 10 in my opinion, but it couldn't get there. What about you, Lachlan?
I ended up leaving this at 3 stars. 3 stars out of 5. It was okay.
Yeah,
Not
that's
my
fair.
cup of tea, but it was a good cup of tea. It was a good cuppa.
Pass me that mug with your cup of tea to continue that double feature. Lachlan, what are you picking?
I'm picking another like fun corporate piece with a descent into madness, but this one I like a lot more. American Psycho. You like that one? It's a good one.
Look at the slick design of my card here. It says like my name down here. Yeah, pretty brilliant. Helvetica font.
Very cute.
Impact font. No, that's one that's always great to give a rewatch. I know, it ties into so many things. I think this is a great pick. Mine is not as great a pick, because I struggle to come up with something that was like a thriller, maybe like a female led, something like that, and the only thing that kind of came up was Promising Young Woman, but then it felt like, no, I don't want to pick that. So it was like, okay, what's in the title? It's Fair Play. Let's go with, because it's spooky season, it's horror season. I went with Child's Play. The first Chucky movie.
Of course you did.
So that's my pick for the double feature. Maybe not as thematically tied in, but tied into the month of October. On the horizon for new releases is the much anticipated, I think on Letterboxd is like the most anticipated film for the rest of the year, Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, produced by, I think, Paramount and Apple TV Plus, is having a theatrical release. I think they haven't even announced yet on what day it will hit Apple TV Plus. I don't know if they have since. But yeah, they had a weird run at the festivals. Like they didn't they had like some announced, but then they pulled back last minute. It was like added to the one showing was added to the Zurich Film Festival. So it played there, but I think it didn't play in New York and in London because again, it's out next week on the 20th. So we'll give it, Lachlan will give it a rewatch. I already rewatched it, and we'll dive full on into this 3.5 hour long epic. And I'm very excited. If you're already curious and you're not sure if this is your thing, we do have reviews linked below that we did back in Gun. For this, we have short reviews, we have a collective review. There's a whole bunch of stuff about Killers of Flower Moon. And yeah, next week we'll talk full on spoiler thoughts. There's nothing else really big that releases this week. I think they kind of made way for Scorsese, as they should. We will have a recap of the Zurich Film Festival later this week, now this time actually, and then later on also Ghent Film Festival like we teased. But that's pretty much it. Lachlan, anything else to add? Anything else you want to bring up? That's sick. I don't like the poster. Gotta say, I don't like the poster. I don't know how you feel about it. But 4K. Is that what your
4K The
homework for the week?
Yeah.
Are you gonna watch it this week?
See what it's like on 4K.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, report back on how well that it translates onto disc. I don't know, onto the screen. It doesn't really go when you don't go to the cinema. I don't like. What do we describe this medium to? Anyways, that's it for the week. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews. And leave us a rating on Apple. I maybe should have said that early on, but if you're still sticking around at this point, then you definitely are down to leave a rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. But thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.